This Pisces new moon is a dreamy energy going on with all the activity in Pisces. However, and with Mercury retrograde in Pisces and also Mars in Pisces, it's very easy to stay in the dream state and just keep on dreaming of how the future can be. So very soon we will see this action coming on. It almost feels like a wake-up call. This Pisces new moon is highlighting that the real reason that we are here on Earth in physical form is that we are to become a vessel for spirit in human form. And this Pisces new moon is very much that reminder of what is that new commitment that we are making to our perception of our existence here in human form on Earth. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. This video is a galactic astrology reading of the Pisces new moon at 28 degrees 27 minutes on March 18th, 2026. Welcome. What I do in these videos, I put an outer layer of fixed stars, galactic points, and celestial bodies to the traditional Western tropical astrology wheel. And that is to connect us with our multidimensional self and also multidimensional collective energies. And that's what I do in these videos. Should you want to dive into your soul blueprint, your galactic soul blueprint, I offer readings where we dive into your expanded higher self and your connections out in the galactic world and in the universe. So if you're curious about that, visit my website on ulrikasullivan.com and go to the readings tab. What you'll receive in this video are 3 energetic themes that I've pulled out from the new moon chart. And also at the end, you'll receive 3 questions should you want to integrate this Pisces new moon energy some more. And also at the end of the video, I have some announcements and offerings that I want to share with you a little bit more in detail. But let's first dive into this Pisces new moon. The Pisces new moon at 28 degrees is conjunct the fixed star Pegasus-Scheat at 29 degrees of Pisces. And here we're dealing with the last degrees of the zodiac, the very last degrees of Pisces. So this new moon is a direct line to the universe, the cosmos, and this is also a big statement that we are now highlighting the very last degrees of Pisces here. And since we're past eclipse season here, we're starting a new cycle. A new universal commitment is on the table for all of us. And this new moon is paving the way for our next chapter, individually, but also collectively. The ruler of this Pisces new moon is Neptune, and Neptune is now in Aries at 1 degree of Aries. So this is also a signature of a new chapter. We have a completely new energy, and Neptune is the way shower for our spiritual development and expansion next. And Neptune is still conjunct Pegasus-Scheat at 29 degrees of Pisces, even though Neptune has now moved into Aries, still within orb for that conjunction and alignment to Pegasus-Scheat. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments reference guide. There is a link in the pinned comment and description box below. So this Pisces new moon is very powerful to make that commitment to expand our existence here and how we are perceiving our existence here, to go from relating more from the physical realm to expand into the unseen and allow that perspective to be integrated in our daily existence and life here. We are making a new universal commitment at this Pisces new moon. And simplified, this new commitment may feel like we are letting go of all kinds of energy that is linked into lack, whether it's lack of love, lack of resources, lack of joy, happiness, anything that has the constriction energy to it that makes us feel like we are either not enough or that we don't have the connection to the universe or spirit or source that is nourishing us from that perspective, because now we're invited to expand into a perspective of where we are always resourced with love. And that is sourced from within through self-love. And it starts with self-acceptance. And from self-love, we can expand into trusting the unseen and the universe to provide us with a self-sourcing love, universal love. This Pisces new moon is also a reminder that when we are opening up to increased self-awareness, we also come into more self-acceptance. And that is the energy spiral that supports this sourcing of self-love within. And sometimes we can think of this restriction or constriction within as a awareness of all of our fears that we harbor as a human being. We are dealing with fears on a daily basis, but this is an expansion to see a new perspective on those fears and lacks of love in all its forms that we may experience. Because now with this Pisces new moon, we're opening up to source love from within through universal connection. And that is something very beautiful that is linked into the archetypal energy that is associated with Pegasus-Scheat, liberation, freedom. So in practical terms, this Pisces new moon can be harnessed through gratitude and breath, and giving ourselves the love that we may not have received from the external world, such as our parents, our siblings, or family, or spouses and partners. This is a major shift and a reminder that love, universal love, we can source from within at all times. And coming back again to the energy associated with Pegasus-Scheat, we're going to dive into Scheat as an energy in the members only video associated with the Pisces new moon. So if you're curious to go deeper with me, to dive into this liberation energy highlighted by Pegasus-Scheat and the new moon's alignment to the fixed star Pegasus-Scheat. And in the members only video, we will also dive into this energy of self-acceptance and self-love and how you can cultivate that within yourself to open up to the opportunities of this Pisces new moon. And the join button to the membership is on the video right above the comments section. Before I show you the Pisces new moon chart, I'd like to share what the energetic themes are. The first theme is new universal commitment. And here we're going to talk more about the new moon, Pegasus-Scheat, of course, and also a minor grand trine with Juno and Uranus. The second theme is Lemurian energy expansion. And here we're going to talk about Virgo-Syrma and also dwarf planet Haumea and asteroid Hawaii. The third theme is inner expansion to outer expression. And here we're going to talk about Jupiter's journey from being retrograde to stationing direct, and also fixed stars Sirius and Lyra-Vega, and also Eridanus-Archenar. All right, let's dive into the Pisces new moon chart next. So here we have the Pisces new moon chart. And as you can see, the sun and the moon are together here at this new moon in Pisces at 28 degrees. And there's a lot going on in Pisces, and we're going to talk about that in the energetic theme 1 coming up. And the new moon, as I mentioned, is conjunct the fixed star Pegasus-Scheat at 29 degrees of Pisces. And we also have the new moon in opposition to the supergalactic center at 2 degrees of Libra. And here I apply a 5-degree orb to that galactic point. As I mentioned, we are going to dive deeper into Pegasus-Scheat here, because this new moon is highlighting ultimate liberation and connection to universal love, universal frequencies, and higher consciousness. liberation is a big topic and it means different for everyone. What does liberation mean for you at this time in your life? It can be something completely different, both at the collective level, but also at the individual level. It can be different in terms of the physical life that we have here as humans, but also it can mean something different in our spiritual self, our higher self, because we are also beings that carry a soul contract. And liberation is very much linked into the transmutation of energy that we go through in each incarnation. And Pegasus-Scheat is very much linked into the soul journey that I refer to as our higher self's journey through eons of time, but also our spiritual self and energetics that we are dealing with as souls. So this Pisces new moon is very linked into our own relationship with our higher consciousness. And what is your relationship to your higher self? And how do you relate to or connect with your higher self on a daily basis? This is the new moon to consider that expansion, and which may require to let go of a lot of perceptions and expectations that we have to tap into an universal flow of energy that we always have access to. And Pegasus-Scheat is a significant alignment because of the late degrees of Pisces, the end of the zodiac. So yes, I see this Pisces new moon as a opener, a portal to a bigger perspective, a bigger world, a bigger universal world to relate to. And it's infinite, right? So wherever we are on our spiritual journey, if you are on a spiritual journey or not, there's always more to expand into. And that's what I feel this Pisces new moon is taking us to the next level there. For those who are desiring to expand, because we all are in alignment with universal laws, we are always expanding, but it's the awareness and self-awareness about that can now increase and is very highlighted at this Pisces new moon. So if you would like to dive deeper with me on this Pegasus-Scheat energy, so join us in the membership to view that special video. All right, let's dive into the first energetic theme, new universal commitment, next. So here we have the first energetic theme, new universal commitment. And I want to highlight some more the new moon here in Pisces, conjunct Pegasus-Scheat, and that opposition with supergalactic center. Pegasus-Scheat as a fixed star has been much highlighted, not only by Saturn and Neptune traversing for a long time this point, and we have talked a lot about Pegasus-Scheat in my videos. And now at this particular Pisces new moon, we also have a minor grand trine. And you can see the kite here that forms with supergalactic center at this time. And this minor grand trine with Pegasus-Scheat is forming every time we have a alignment with 27, 28 degrees of Capricorn and Taurus. And as we know, we have Uranus at 28 degrees of Taurus already been there for a long time, conjunct Perseus-Algol at 26 degrees of Taurus. And now at this particular Pisces new moon, we have Juno at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So this is a powerful message of a new commitment. And by engaging also Uranus there in Taurus conjunct Perseus-Algol, we know that it's linked into our expansion of our consciousness and connection to our higher self, because we know the story around Perseus-Algol and Medusa, and Uranus is there for a reason to help us move out of the logic into our heart frequencies, where we are using our intuition more so than our logic. And I'm simplifying it here, but that's the main message, in my opinion, with that Uranus conjunct Perseus-Algol highlight here that has been in place for quite a while, and our expansion into multidimensional perspective. Uranus is the galactic awakener, so we have that multidimensional view and perspective available to us. And with this minor grand trine and Juno in Capricorn here, Juno is linked into making new commitments. Juno is about relationships, but it's also a commitment that is always made in a relationship to stay in a relationship with ourselves or others in integrity. And Juno is very much linked into that. And in Capricorn, Juno wants to have a structured relationship, devoted, structured relationship to our multidimensional self, which is the link into Uranus and Algol there. But the new moon in Pisces highlights this liberation energy that can come out of making that commitment to ourselves. So this minor grand trine in Kite with supergalactic center, which is an amplification of that energy of relationship with self and relationship with others in Libra there. And worth to note too is that we have the water element, we have Pisces, and we have earth element, Taurus and Capricorn, activated in this minor grand trine. So it's linked into our intuitive self in human form. Intuitive water self in human form is the earth element. We are here on earth right now. So it's very much a guidance for what is important at this time, and amplifying that by supergalactic center, which is highlighting the balancing in Libra there. 2 degrees of Libra is a supergalactic center. And to come into balance and harmony at this time around this commitment to expand into a multidimensional perspective. And I want to highlight also the oppositions that are generated by this minor grand trine. And the first opposition here, we're very familiar with, the opposition between Uranus, Perseus, Algol there, and Alpha Centauri at 29 degrees of Scorpio. This is the invitation that as we are moving into more of our heart frequency, using our third eye, we're also increasing our abilities to interact with the universe, with cosmos, and that's Alpha Centauri, which is linked into divination. And Juno's opposition there to Canis Minor Procyon at 26 degrees of Cancer is very interesting too, because Juno's commitment there in Capricorn in opposition with Canis Minor Procyon that we talked about quite a lot in the previous, most recent video, is where we are integrating spiritual technology, expansion with connection with our body's wisdom, for example, integrating combinations now of healing that may not be linked into traditional medicine or healing. Canis Minor Procyon in opposition with Juno there is an expansion of that commitment to healing in new ways than perhaps traditional ones. So here we have Juno and also Perseus Algol, and I've circled there on the sky map. And also Perseus holding Medusa's head there as an image to tune into. Juno is the deep devotion to a deep relationship with ourselves and others. And at the higher frequency, Juno's expression is very much in harmony and in integrity when making that commitment in a partnership or to ourselves. While unbalanced, Juno is very possessive, likely, or forming a commitment based on more unhealthy and perhaps sometimes destructive ways. So at this Pisces new moon, how devoted are you to your spiritual expansion at this time? And that's likely why Juno is here asking us that question. And I want to highlight also, we have a lot of activity in Pisces. And I want to highlight, of course, Mercury in retrograde conjunct the North Node here at 8 degrees of Pisces, in opposition with the South Node, of course, and also Draco Thuban at 7 degrees of Virgo. This is a powerful message of that direction coming from within to balance our need for independence and sovereignty that Draco Thuban at the very deepest and highest frequency is about, to preserve our own sovereignty and interconnection to deep wisdom. And the Mercury retrograde conjunct North Node is the opening to receiving that message, because the South Node conjunct Draco Thuban is unearthing that deep wisdom within that has to do with our sovereign, interdependent soul. So that's very interesting to observe this conjunction with the nodal axis and the involvement and alignment with Draco Thuban at this time. And with this alignment at 8 degrees, we also have a T-square with hiatus at 8 degrees of Gemini. And hiatus, Ain in particular, is associated with very passionate life force type of energy. So the tool here that we can use to dig deep here with the South Node conjunct Draco Thuban is that passionate life force that has very much life to it. And that T-square is encouraging us to go and seek that passionate life force to encourage this alignment with the nodal axis and Draco Thuban to receive those messages from within. And here, I just wanted to leave Draco Thuban here and hiatus on the sky map for you to tune into, as you may know where the Big Dipper is in the sky, and you can also see where the hiatus is very linked into the Pleiades constellation, at least optically on the sky map. Yes, it's a very interesting energy here in Pisces. It almost feels like a preparation for everything that's going to happen in Aries once both Mars and Mercury and Sun goes into Aries. Sun goes into Aries at the equinox on March 20th. But it's almost like an anticipatory energy here in Pisces, where we are meant to go into depth with connecting and making a commitment to our own expansion, consciousness expansion at this time. So it feels like a golden opportunity. And we didn't talk so much about Mars in Pisces there at 12 degrees of Pisces, but we will talk about Mars more in energetic theme 3 coming up later in the video. And if you're here watching this video, you likely are here also because your soul is ready for that expansion. And speaking of expansion, let's dive into energetic theme 2 now, Lemurian energy expansion next. So here we have the second theme that I've called Lemurian energy expansion. And here we're going to zone in on Pluto here at 4 degrees, 58 minutes, almost 5 degrees, which is a new territory for Pluto. And there's a lot happening here at this time because Pluto is making a square to a bunch of asteroids and dwarf planet Haumea. If you look there into the sign of Scorpio, we have Haumea at 3 degrees of Scorpio in retrograde. We have asteroid Hawaii at 4 degrees in retrograde, and also asteroid Dejanira at 4 degrees of Scorpio. All of that conjunct Shapley attractor. And the thing here also is that Pluto has been in alignment with Aquila Altair, and we've talked about Aquila Altair a lot. This is the first lunation that Pluto is not conjunct within orb to Aquila Altair. So now we have a square instead between Pluto and Virgo constellation and the fixed star Syrma at 4 degrees of Scorpio. So this is super interesting. So let's dive into that square a little bit more. And as we know, Pluto is on a mission to break new ground in Aquarius, in the sign of Aquarius, associated with the Aquarian age and new earth energy, where we are connected to higher consciousness and living in more union with universal love and opening up to living in that connection on a daily basis. Now, this square seems to be very much linking into ancient civilizations' energy, such as Lemuria. We have asteroid Hawaii, which we often astrologers consider having a link into or is a marker for Lemuria as an ancient civilization and the wisdom that comes with that. Now, also, Haumea is also a dwarf planet linked into unity consciousness and is described as a higher new earth guide. And Deianira as an asteroid is linked into victimhood energy. So there is a expansion and a release here through that square, which is often, I interpret the square as a expansion or release of some sort, where we are encouraged to let go of something in favor of opening up to receive a higher frequency. And this Pluto square is very much a signature of what I just described as a link into Lemurian energy. And we'll talk a little bit more about Virgo-Syrma in the next image here that I'm going to show you. But this square is significant since we have that lineup between Haumea, Deianira, and Hawaii at this Pisces new moon. We also have a significant sextile between Pluto and Saturn now at 3 degrees of Aries. And this sextile is very supportive of that permanent transformation and expansion. So Saturn is supportive of this unearthing of Lemurian energy at this Pisces new moon. So here we have Haumea to tune into, and Haumea is a very embodied cosmic energy connected to the physical element, but also to the cosmos, everything in nature and all the elements. So she's the embodiment of unity consciousness. Now, asteroid Hawaii, as I mentioned, is linked into the said area of Lemuria in the Pacific Ocean there, and linked into specifically also the Hawaiian Islands. Now, the role of Deianira, asteroid Deianira, which is linked into victimhood energy, may represent this constriction energy that I described up front in the intro of this video, the need to let go of the sense of lack of love, for example, or lack of the connection with the universe. And this is an invitation from Pluto to expand beyond the victimhood energy at this time and tap into the universal love that both Hawaii and Haumea here as dwarf planet and asteroid are representing. Now, the square to Virgo-Syrma that Pluto is also aligned to, the fixed star Syrma in the Virgo constellation, Virgo-Syrma in particular is linked into spiritual power and boundaries. So that may also give us some guidance around it, how we are guided to use this spiritual power, but also to establish boundaries to harness the power of this ancient energy that is now coming to the surface. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about Virgo-Syrma and this square to Pluto, because Pluto will be in square with Syrma for a little while here, while traversing 4, 5, 6 degrees of Aquarius. Another dwarf planet that is significant to unity consciousness and higher love, higher universal love, and the connection to that is Salacia, the dwarf planet Salacia at 11 degrees of Aries, in opposition with dwarf planet Makemake at 12 degrees of Libra in retrograde. This is a long-standing opposition, and I should also say that Makemake is in conjunction or lined with Corvus Algorab at 13 degrees of Libra, fixed star Algorab. This is a long-standing opposition because Makemake and Salacia they don't move that fast. They have an orbit of about 250 years plus. So this position here is very much fixed, if you will. And the reason I'm bringing in the opposition here between Salacia and Makemake is that we have such focus and will have such focus on the sign of Aries So I just wanted to break down the energy signature of this opposition some more to add to the message here of the attention to sign of Aries at this time. So Salacia here is linked into the water element and also to higher love frequency, very high vibrating frequency. And it's a union type of energy. So think of Mars energy and Venus energy brought together in harmony. And that's how high Salacia is vibrating. And also we have Maki Maki, which is the higher expression of Uranus, and also, of course, Mercury. So Maki Maki links us into how we are structuring that ancient wisdom, the ancient wisdom that we are connecting with now, and putting that into relevant and appropriate ways to apply that in modern world. And Algorab, fixed star Algorab in the Corvus constellation, is linked into allowing lower frequencies to rise, overcoming limitations, and also bringing the messages through. Algorab is also linked into the animal totem of the raven. So it's a messaging system here of higher love that we're seeing in this opposition that is in effect and highlighted here with all the highlight on Pisces and Aries, but Aries to come, and the anticipation of an action forward, which is very much an Aries type of energy. And at this time, at the Pisces new moon, we're making that new commitment to a connection to the universe, a new universal commitment. So yes, this expansion and unearthing of Lemurian energy is definitely a signature of the Pisces new moon, and the way we can harness that, and that sextile between Pluto and Saturn is very much linked into the future and what the future is to become based on the lessons that we've learned and the new commitments that we're making now. So the new universal commitment that we're making at this time may be linked into how we are using our spiritual power and what boundaries we're setting around our own universal self and our connection to it. This is something that we may need to sit with a little bit on how we are relating to universal love and how we want to apply that later on when we move into beyond the equinox into focusing on the sign of Aries, because then we are likely to see some outer expression of that inner expansion. And having talked about inner expansion and outer expression, we're going to move into the third energetic theme that I named inner expansion to outer expression. And here we're going to talk about Jupiter's role in all of this. But first, before we move into the third energetic theme, I want to just give a heads up that I have now a special reading, a limited time reading available for you that I titled Inner Expansion to Outer Expression. And in this special reading, we are diving into how Jupiter's journey is playing out against your own birth chart and what it actually means, because we have Jupiter stationing direct on March 10th, and then making its journey into the late degrees of Cancer, hitting that Canis minor procyon at 26 degrees of Cancer, and entering Leo on June 29, 2026. So there's a whole journey to study here in your own chart about this inner expansion that has been with Jupiter in retrograde here, and now Jupiter stationing direct on March 10th and moving towards an expansion, making a journey here in the late degrees of Cancer to enter Leo in end of June. And that is a journey that is taking place somewhere in your chart. So if you want to dive deeper into this expansion energy with Jupiter, I would like to make a plug for that reading that I'm offering. Limited time available to book until March 31st. Visit my website or click on the link in the pinned comment and description box below. Inner expansion to outer expression. Jupiter now direct at this Pisces new moon at 15 degrees of Cancer, conjunct Canis Major-Sirius. And Sirius is a significant fixed star referenced in many world religions and ancient traditions. So Sirius and Jupiter's highlight here to Sirius is a significant guidance around what we are actually expanding at this time, which is our spiritual wisdom simplified. And Jupiter is in opposition also with Lyra-Vega at 15 degrees of Capricorn. And Lyra-Vega energy is very much linked into divine feminine spiritual mastery. And this is the balance that we are invited to make as we expand into a bigger perspective of our soul journey and multidimensional self. So Jupiter conjunct Sirius is making a trine, and on the next slide here I have the square. But let's talk first about the trine to Eridanus-Archenar at 15 degrees of Pisces. And we do have Mars in this vicinity at 12 degrees of Pisces, but not in orb with Eridanus-Archenar. But it's worth talking about Mars as well, because Mars is going to be conjunct Eridanus-Archenar a little bit later here at 15 degrees. But what's worth to say is that this Pisces new moon, Mars is now where the sun was at the Virgo full moon lunar eclipse on March 3rd. So Mars is highlighting that position once more. And the trine here to Eridanus-Archenar is important because it supports this message around expansion. Eridanus-Archenar particularly is linked into energy of spiritual expansion. And anytime we have an alignment to Eridanus-Archenar is an encouragement to expand spiritually. And when I say expand spiritually, it is often linked into a greater sense of flow, greater sense of alignment to universal wisdom and a universal love that we experience in human form. And Eridanus, the constellation of Eridanus, is also the river. So symbolically, it supports this spiritual expansion type of flow and alignment. And here we also have Venus in play in a square at 15 degrees of Aries, conjunct Andromeda Alperax. And as you can see, there's also a T-square then with Lyra-Vega at 15 degrees of Capricorn. And Andromeda Alperax here stands for freedom from limitations. And again, that links into one of the major themes of this Pisces new moon to expand beyond that sense of restriction or lack of love, if we call it that. And this T-square is very much linked into Lyra-Vega and Sirius. And this axis is very much representing what I usually call human galactic heritage, which represents soul heritage that many of us who are incarnated on Earth right now have. So this is an important message from Venus conjunct Andromeda Alperax there to further release the sense of limitation and restriction in our lives to get closer to an open sea of flow of universal wisdom and love. And Andromeda Alperax here is also part of the Great Square. And if you recall, Pegasus-Scheat is the fixed star north of Alperax there. So there's a link into, symbolically, the Pegasus-Scheat liberation energy here, linked into that flow energy of Alperax. And here you can see the shape of the Andromeda constellation as well. And you may be familiar with the Lyra constellation, and I've just pointed out Lyra-Vega there as the fixed star in opposition with Jupiter, and has been there for a while now. And as Jupiter now is direct in opposition with Lyra-Vega, you may be familiar with the Lyra constellation here. And I should also say that Lyra-Vega is very much an archetypal energy of our psychic abilities, but also how we are harnessing that ancient wisdom of our psychic abilities. So yes, this Pisces new moon feels very much as a buildup to the equinox, of course, 2 days later, but also the attention to the sign of Aries that's coming up next later on in March and in April. This is the time to stay with your dreams, but also starting to envision and visualize the actions that are coming out of this energy in Pisces now, because the power of our dreams is not realized until we take action. And we're going to get supported to get into action mode as we get beyond the equinox here. And again, I just wanted to encourage you to dive deeper with this Jupiter expansion. Check out the link in the description box and the pinned comment. So I want to thank you for being here, diving into the world of galactic astrology and quantum soul journey with me. And it has a meaning. It's a reason that you're here, because your soul is likely guiding you to expand at this time. So next, let's dive into the questions for the Pisces new moon, should you want to integrate this energy some more. The first question is, of course, related to the highlight of Pegasus-Scheat, and that is, what are you anticipating and dreaming of now that is bringing you more into harmony and beauty and softness next? Because when we get into Aries season, you are well prepared to take action from a place of love, beauty, and softness. The second question is related to Virgo-Syrma and that square to Pluto. The question is, how are you setting boundaries so that you can have more rest and space for contemplation at this time? The third question is related to Jupiter, of course, now being direct. And the question is, how are you expanding into a new expression? And this might be something you sit with now, between now and end of June, because there is also a major door opening when Jupiter goes into Leo end of June. So there is action to be taken, but the real bang, if you will, is likely more prepared to be happening around that end of June timeframe. But now is the time to set the groundwork for that outer expansion that we'll all feel in some form, depending on where Jupiter is in your chart. So at this Pisces new moon, it may also be a time for reflection and diving deeper. And if you're curious about your soul expression, and do some self-studying and getting to know the top 5 constellations that I most often find in people's charts. So I have created an extension to the Galactic Alignments Reference Guide that speaks a little bit more about the context of each of the top 5 fixed stars that are most common in people's charts. So if you're curious, I want to show you a little bit about that offering. So you go to my website, ulrikasullivan.com, and you click on the shop tab here. And the offering that I'd like to show you a little bit more about is this Galactic Soul Expressions Quick Start Guide. And this I have created for those who would like to know a little bit more and self-study about what is galactic astrology and the top 5 galactic alignments everyone should know. I have described in here a little bit. And there is also a bonus experience, visualization, or a guided meditation where you'll be guided to meet your galactic soul family. And this is great if you want more context to the galactic alignments that you find in your chart, and particularly the top 5 galactic alignments that everyone should know. So thank you so much for being with me here at this Pisces new moon. I value your presence here, and I can't wait to get back to you with another video. Take care. Bye.